Click the subscribe button below to receive new videos as we release them. Hit the thumbs up button so others can find our content. For more information, visit thejerusalemasembly.org.
The New Life by Ruben D. Garcia. Greetings, my beautiful and beloved family, and faithful friends and readers. As I shared with you all on June 22 NDS message, I hereby continue my urgent message of consciousness ascension. The title for today's post is, The New Life. The title is appropriate for what I will share with every one of you. Let's start with a quick review of what was shared previously. The transformation spoken begins with a period of solitude, separation, and inner reflections. This period of isolation includes being in separate locations if possible, because you should be in an state of uninterrupted setting. During such times, you will begin experiencing early morning wake UPS, conditioning you to become aware of the period in which the Divine Forum is acquainting you with becoming available to receive messages through thoughts, dreams, and in later times, visualizations. More on this later in the next article. Next, after becoming familiar with 3 o'clock in the morning wake UPS, you are presented to begin relating to their spiritual objectives. All is dependent on your having endured the isolation. For the most individuals that are called, it has failed to comply. The reasons many times are due to personal choice or from exercised pressures from a loved one. This is the most difficult one, and yet a very significant one to advance in consciousness. Assuming you are able to exercise the isolation period, which can be from a month to 6 months as I experienced, is the key to begin the journey into meditating, introverted ideals, and strengthening your self-spirituality, a most important step in ascending in higher frequencies and experiencing dynamic energies. It is this period that begins to entertain synchronicity, meaning you begin to observe repetition of numbers, not just any numbers but a specific set such as 1111, 2222, 3333, or smaller versions of them, 111, 222, 333. This 333 will play a major role in your awakening period because it will denote imageries from those divine elements guiding your mind and spiritual training, most often at 3:33 in the mornings. Of course, it is not that simple, since you must become conditioned to expect, accept, and trust in what at the beginning may appear to be ludicrous, strange, and even bizarre for some. It is this phase that eliminates a number of participants who believe the notion of sleeping apart, trained to be awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning to stare at a ceiling awaiting for some kind of spiritual experience may seem strange to say the least. At this stage of your call, the ever-malicious ego reinforces your mind, and you cave to the physical world and return to your third-dimensional being. However, for those that remain faithful and trust in the divine protagonists with their divine agenda, continue to practice day in and out the early morning's ritual of being awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning, and about 3:33 time, they are given mental images describing places you cannot recognize but later understand to be episodes of lives experienced in other places and even other dimensions. This may bring moments of apprehension and doubtful thinking, but since they are short-lived in the memory, they must just be shuffled into a wasteful bin, sort of speaking. But continuous meditation can help in understanding why these episodes begin to occur more often than not. Because part of your adaptation and acceptance that you are much more than a body in a third-dimensional earth but rather an eternal being, your soul, existing temporarily here but with a grandiose cosmic background that has enabled you to be one of the many called for a greater mission on this earth. Sadly, it is here at this stage that some decide they had enough, and again the ego exercised dominance over you, and quickly you return to a mundane, fear-driven reality. However, for the ones that believe and remain faithful to the divine cause move into the next phase, the universe's qualification of your both emotional and spiritual persistence. You are designated or made known you to be a privileged star seed, and further declares you to belong to a unique divine caste of stars, beings with a divine agenda upon on this earth to aid and support Gaia, our earth, to ascend and aid humanity in their own ascension into beings of higher consciousness with a direct mandate from the great and infinite source, God, whose divine essence you carry, your spirit, His creation. Therefore, as you complete this divine tasking, it is not the end. No sir, there is much more to be accomplished. But what awaits for those that endured the divine travails is beyond explanation, because after completing the first phase of your transformation from believing to be a mortal being and suddenly realizing you are divine by nature, changes everything and everyone else that is around you. Your life will become exciting, of course, but also a rude awakening is also encounter when those that saw you as they see themselves treat you differently. The once love you thought was all you needed came with a masquerade that now it makes it obviously not what you expected from them. All I can share with you is that once you recognize that you are losing a grip in what you held so tight to, fears, anxieties and agonizing losses, it can overcome you through your deadly enemy. Yes, the ego again exercises its power over you, and you accept divine defeat and return to the ones you thought you would lose if continue with the divine call. Again, some exercise fears over destiny and unfortunately returning to third-dimensional relations bound to mistrust, deceptive and dishonest behaviors that will succumb you to experience despairs and much fears. And for those that endured faithfully to the divine call, the greatest adventure awaits, the 9 days spiritual transformation for those that have seen the divine purpose and the light of their call. This is the time in which you find yourself alone, abandoned by those that once uttered incessantly how much they loved you and could not be without you. Indifference, isolation, and even mistrust reign supreme in your life, however, thanks to the divine entourage that is present by you, which they cannot see or even believe, comfort you throughout your day and during while you sleep. Since they cannot see them because of their third-dimensional existence, they avoid or think you lost it. But fear not, at every aspect of your daily encounters, the entourage is with you persistently. There is such joy seeing their role in your daily life. Your ancestors, spirit guides and your higher self are with you until time ends. I should know I am their responsibility and ensure I remain faithful and strong in all my daily adversities. However, that is not the end for the most crucial part of the divine transformation best yet to come. The individual testing of each elected candidate, now titled Star Seed, is made known, and their efforts and trust determines whether they rise to divine greatness or fall, the 9 days divine training. I leave that reference for next article, but for now you have an idea of how all of humanity will have to face sooner or later. The choice is yours. You remain captive of an ego that has no interest in your well-being except be part of a not visible dark forum that had, does, and will continue if you don't begin spiritually changing. Time is of an essence, however there are immense factors been invested in you failing. The question is, you desire to be a failure? Or you would retaliate and become the spiritual being God created? As before, be the gleaner God sees in you and not the wanderer. Joyfully I blessed you all with love and peace.